is an out-of-body experience felt? In this video, I'm going to share with you one of my experiences in which I was lucid from the moment that I detached from the body to the moment I returned to it. This channel is about taking control of our personal evolution, both spiritually and here in this lifetime. And what could be more of a spiritual experience than a possibility in which we are out of this physical world, being in spirit actually in the non-physical realm and observing how things work. That's what the out-of-body experience allows us to do. Learning from reports and accounts of others is always interesting because it gives us examples, but it also can be very complicated because an example is not the explanation, is not the study. So I'm not so fond of telling experience to teach people, but maybe just as curiosity of possibilities. I'm going to share with you in another video that I'm going to be publishing in a week what we should be conscious of or pay attention to when we hear reports of others, so that what we learned about experiences that other people had do not interfere with our own experiences, do not somehow end up blocking our own lucidity outside the body. But I'm going to mention in another video so that I do not make this one too long. But I have chosen to tell you today one of my experiences because I think that illustrates many different aspects of the actual disconnection from the body. But making a long story short, there was a certain morning that before going to work, I had some time idle. So I decided just to use that time to do a vilu, which is a energy technique that we move the energies inside of our bodies. If you are not familiar with this, I'm going to produce a video teaching about that, and you also have my book that you can find more information about that. But the point here is that I just stayed there doing the technique for a long time, and later on I went to take a shower and I just ate something, and again I had a little time extra available, and I decided just to rest a little bit, just to lie down for a moment. My bed was already made. I had a blanket, a cover, and the pillows, so I decided to lie down on top of the cover. So I just did so, and after a while I felt a little bit cold, so I just put my hands underneath my body so that they would be warmer. Okay, pretty relaxed enough to be able to sleep for a few moments. But what happened is that, in spite of being during the day with daylights coming in through the windows and just being relaxed for a moment there without any intention to leave the body, all of a sudden I had the sensation as if my legs were falling off the bed, as if they had stretched or falling off the bed. So for a moment I thought, oh, the bed shrinked, but then immediately, of course, I recognized, of course, beds do not shrink. So then I realized that my legs were actually out of my body, whilst the rest of my body was still inside. So my legs were like sweeping, going up and down, passing through the bed. That was a very nice sensation. So what I did was just to enjoy that. I didn't have any major intention of leaving the body at that time, no, because it was about time for me to go to work. I just simply decided to move and enjoy that sensation. And I kept doing so, like going up and down, very, very pleasant. But I realized that, oh, my non-physical body started getting more and more loose or disconnected. So it would be very easy for me to simply get out of my body in that moment. So I decided, okay, let me go out. But the moment that I thought so, and I did that intention to go further from my body, what is it that I sensed? My hands. And the only thing I could feel were my hands, because the pressure on my hands were enough to create some sort of connection that was very difficult for me to take out or to break, because sensing my physical hands would cause that my non-physical hands would still be very much in contact or aligned. So having some experience with how all of this work, I just thought, I have to find a way to get out in which I am going to not have to go through the complete disconnection, completely lucid disconnection. Of course, it's a complete disconnection, but not necessarily lucid. So what happens is that I could sense pretty much my legs get out, my torso but not my arms and hands. And I decided to use a different technique at the time to go in that last phase of the projection. And what I did is that I concentrated very strongly in being on a corner of my room in which I would maybe seeing my physical body or something like that, but I very strongly thought of being that corner. Therefore, placing the center of my awareness or my reference of the world from that space that I was there. Of course, normally we think here, right? So I just tried to focus that reference of lucidity, myself, we would be somewhere else. So then by doing that, what happened is that in a brief moment, I caught myself there. So then we can say that I had a 95 whatever percent conscious take off, but the hands, I had to create a procedure in which I would not pay attention to the hands, and therefore I couldn't not sense them detaching. But anyway, there I was completely lucid. And what I did in that time was that I tried to explore my apartment. I was living in a new apartment that I had just moved in maybe like a month before, something like that. So I thought, great opportunity for me to examine the energies of my apartment and what is here in this non-physical parallel dimension here of my physical apartment. So I started examining. So I passed through the living room and I checked, and I went to the kitchen, and then I actually saw, when I was there in the kitchen going to the laundry, I saw a couple, actually two extra physical consciousness or non-physical individuals who were there. And when I saw them, I noticed that they were a little bit confused. They were attached to that place. So there was for me an opportunity to communicate with them mentally, in that case was telepathically, just asking who they were, what they were doing there, this sort of thing. And I created some pulses of energies that helped them to become lucid of where they were, what they were doing there. And later on, they vanished. They were no longer there. And after this excursion, I thought, okay, I have to go to work, so let me go back to my body as soon as I can, and I need now to be with attention of the time. So I went back, and on my way back, the door of my bedroom was closed, and I had passed through it on my way out of the bedroom, no problem at all. But when I started approaching the door to my way to the bedroom again, or on my way to the bedroom again, I decided to do a little experiment. Because sometimes when we are outside the body, we can create non-physical shapes. We can alter in a way the non-physical objects that may be around of us, not necessarily always, not necessarily we can alter everything or anything we decide to, but sometimes we end up interfering and creating some sort of almost like a materialization outside of the body. I cannot call materialization because that's not matter, but it looks like because we built some objects or structure. So I decided to play with something because I saw the knob of the door and I thought, how much of this knob is just missing the physical world? I wanted to see how my vision was tuned with the physical level there, with the physical apartment. Because sometimes when we are outside the body, we see very clearly the physical realm, the physical objects. But other times we are seeing more the non-physical level of reality than the physical one, because there is some sort of interaction. They are slightly different, but of course there are a cohesion between what we see in the physical apartment, in that case, or in the physical world, with what we perceive in the non-physical world. But to do that experiment, what I did is that I started focusing on the knob and trying to reshape it, trying to change it. And I couldn't, which meant that I was actually aiming and seeing the physical knob. If it were a non-physical one that I had just maybe unconsciously created at that time, I would have been able to alter its appearance in a way. And that's why sometimes the out-of-body experience is confusing, but I am relating this so that you think about this possibility and how if this happens, it could make us think, is this a projection or not? Anyways, so when I noticed that, okay, interesting, came to my conclusion, enter my room. So I passed through the door again without not even thinking about it, because of course I'm seeing a physical door and I am in a non-physical body, no problem, pass through it. But when I passed through the door and I was again in my bedroom, I thought, okay, let me see my body. And when I look at the bed, I could see all of the details. Of course, again, the cover of the bed, even maybe a little bit of the wrinkles of where I was lying, though I would alter a little bit the shape and the shape of the pillow, but I didn't see my body. So for me, it was super interesting. Not that I became afraid or something, because I was absolutely conscious. I was conscious from the moment I lied in the physical body, to the moment I detached, to all my excursions there, my experiments and my return. So I knew I was projected. So when I didn't see my body, my reaction was, wow, how interesting. I'm looking at my body, I know it's there, but I'm not seeing my body. What sort of mechanism is this? Because of course we are all the time looking for explanations to understand what we experience and why, and how our mind interprets what we see, and how we remember about what we saw in the out-of-body experience. So with the spirit of doing research, I started observing and thinking, and then I decided, okay, time to go back. And what I did is, I like to swim, so I created, when you jump and you just dive, so I kind of did this movement to dive into my body. So then I felt it, and immediately I sensed myself re-entering my body, and all of the sensations of the reconnection. Opened my eyes, and there I was in this complete sequence. But I am commenting this experience because there are several factors for you to pay attention. Number one is, the technique that we use will always vary depending on the condition we are, meaning how relaxed, how loose or disconnected is already our non-physical body. What is the condition of our energies, and what is the condition of the non-physical environment around of us? Maybe how focused in our concentration we are. So there are a number of things here for us to learn. So you see that I used two different techniques, and one was just to relax and allow the velo operate to kind of lose my non-physical body. And the second one was focusing on that corner. But also during the projection, because my whole point was to observe my apartment, you also have here some examples of the sort of thing that we can see and what we can do. So that was really to illustrate. I'm going to comment with you in another video what we should learn from reports of out-of-body experiences. I know many people like to report their experience. It's quite interesting when we hear, but sometimes that is not the best or most convenient way to learn. It's an interesting way to see opportunities or cases, but not to learn necessarily. And I'm going to comment with you in another video why, so that all of us here, we are on the same page and we keep growing. We keep increasing our control of our awareness and our stability and our balance, both here in this body, but also out of this body. I hope you enjoyed learning about one of the possibilities of experience when we are projected. If you have any feedback for me, or if you have any out-of-body experience, please do leave in the comments down below. We will all be very interested to learn about it. If you would like to hear about new videos, please also think of subscribing. Thank you very much for being with me up to now. See you next time.